Hello and welcome to the
Yeah.
Spiritual Solopreneur Podcast. If this content resonates, please like and subscribe. You know those business owners who've grown their business to a certain point? Perhaps their books are full or they've hit a revenue milestone, but now they feel stuck. They've hit a block, they might be a bit burned out, or that spark is just missing. That's where my guest today comes in. Selena Woodward is a certified business coach, NLP practitioner, and former SaaS founder. She helps purpose-led entrepreneurs to realign their message and rise to the next level using a grounded but intuitive approach to business growth. That sounds good to me,
It
Selena.
is good. It's real fun.
Hi.
Thank you. I
Thank
always loved it when it says I'm a SaaS founder because,
Yeah,
obviously it sounds like I'm like so sassy. But
as
that's
sassy
software
as well.
yeah, software as a service that was.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes.
I
So
know it's a bit of an
platforms of
acronym,
some
but
sort.
yeah,
Yeah.
lots of experience in education technology and building business and yeah, lots of
Beautiful.
lessons along the way.
Well, yeah, and you are a business coach and you have all a plethora of knowledge and skills in all that kind of stuff, business growth and marketing and so on. But you also have all these other sort of less tangible gifts and skills that you bring to your practice, NLP, heightened intuition, and so on. So, and I want to talk about how those mesh together, but I'm curious first, which came first? Were you doing like nuts and bolts stuff and then decided to get into the other, or vice versa? You know what I'm saying? I
Well,
hope.
yeah, the woo or the typical sort of
Exactly.
no normal, which I don't subscribe to. You'll soon
Exactly.
find out. Sort of like, so I guess if I go back in time, like let's go back to the 90s because that's really cool right now. When I was a teenager, I went to a Catholic school, but I also read tarot. And so I learned to read tarot on the Catholic retreat because I was doing it while everyone else was doing something else and I was bored. Good work, teenage me. And then the Catholic priest found me and scared the all out of me. So I actually got my tarot cards taken away from me when I was about 15 by a priest, by Father Amen. Thank you, Father Amen. And he didn't get it. That's okay. And I wasn't mature enough to explain it to him. So I actually was really frightened of my gift for a long time. I had it scared out of me. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience. And I came back to my gift in my mid 30s. I think it took me a while, which was awesome. So I guess the very early part of my career, there was none of that. Um, my gift was very suppressed. But I've always been very intuitive with or without my tarot. As a teenager, I used to use my tarot for predicting, who was going to go out with who and what was going on. That was the very important business of the day when one is 15. But like now, I use my intuition a lot. When it comes to business, I learned that lesson. I was going to say the hard way, but you know what? All lessons are meant to have a bit of challenge, so that's okay. When I built that SaaS business that we talked about earlier, I got that to six figures, and I did that the very traditional way. And I had some amazing mentors, but it wasn't actually aligned to me in the end. I kind of was so focused on doing the right thing and following the shoulds that I kind of tuned out a little bit of what my gut was telling me. So on that journey, which was about nearly a decade long, I had this dance going on of, right, this is what it says I should do. This is what I'm being advised I should do, but I feel this. I'm going to ignore the feeling. I'm just going to do what I'm told. Oh, wait, that hasn't worked. So I got given this beautiful opportunity to learn how to, I'm going to say mind meld. We'll go a bit Star Trek here. The both,
Yeah.
and work out how that worked. And now I really believe that our business is a mirror to us. It's a relationship, and I often say that, like with most relationships with another person, you can kind of blame the other person. Like you can come up with a bit of an excuse as to why that thing happened because they didn't do this. But a business isn't a sentient being. So you can blame the business, but it's not ever going to be at fault. You can't be in that place because you're in charge of your business. You're the one. So it's even stronger. It's a really, really harsh like mirror. It's like, look. So, like I had that journey with my other business. I learned so much doing it. And now I help my clients to see what they can't see when they look in the mirror, if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone listening has ever had that experience where they're like really, really stuck. And then my clients will come to me and we'll talk it out. Sometimes we start with tarot and we'll pull some cards, and the symbolism in the cards will get this great conversation going. And then they're like, the light bulbs are going off and they're like, oh, I don't have to do much. I facilitate, I ask questions, I use the tarot. Sometimes I channel things. Things will come to me that I will share with my clients and say, look, I'm seeing this. I see visuals. I'm seeing this. What's that? But with the NLP work that I've started doing recently as well, like even your body language will give me so many clues. Like at the moment, I'm working on some goal setting, and we're all really good at having a goal, right? We're going to make a big goal because we're in business. But like if you said to me, yes, Selena, this quarter, I'm going to start having 10K months, and this is your face, I just know that's not going to happen. Because it's so excitement. There's no like, oh, I'm so close. I can't, like, so I'm watching your body language. I'm reading your energy. And I'm not going to say, well, that's not going to happen. Look at you. I'm going to ask questions like, oh, really? How does that feel? And you'll be like, oh, and you'll probably go, actually, I'm a bit scared a lot of people are a bit scared of the next bit, like, so as we're having those conversations, using my intuition, tuning into the energies, pulling out the tarot, we have so much fun. So yeah, there you go. It's great. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. So how do you then use your NLP and your other things? How does that mesh in? Is it only at the beginning, kind of when you're ferreting out um, what's going on with the person?
There's lots of different ways it crops up. Um, well, like I said, at the moment I'm doing a goal setting workshop in next week actually, and I'm doing an online version of that too, which will be really fun.
Hmm.
And one of the NLP modalities we use in that is timeline therapy. So timeline therapy allows us to explore what's happened previously and in the future. And so when we set a goal using NLP and using our sensory acuity, like how does it feel? I can actually help you install that into your timeline in the future. So our mind doesn't actually know whether if we imagine it, it's happened. Like our brain doesn't really differentiate between those two things. So we can use NLP to take that event, that goal, and put that into your future. And then I can coach you to help you make the steps to get there. So that's one way that we can do it. But that's why it's really important to use our intuition, because if you come to me and go, I'm going to make 10K, I'm going to have 1,000 followers, you probably got 1,000 followers, but and there's not any joy or purpose or love attached to that, I'm not going to put that in your future, because that's not actually what you want. That's not actually the thing.
Yeah,
So part of my job is to really like go, okay, let's break that down a little.
exactly.
Another way NLP gets used is limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. That crops up a lot. How many of your listeners here have discovered that they may have something about money? They're not very comfortable, like charging enough, or no, what's the word enough? Not charging the value of their product. They're still trying to work out the value based on how much it costs them or how much they charge per hour, rather than calculating it on the value it brings to someone, because that feels there's some uncomfortable discomfort there. That comes up a lot. And usually we've got some beliefs around money, some limiting beliefs. We can use NLP to clear things like that. And there are lots of different limiting beliefs that come up. Imposter syndrome is
I was
another
just going to
limiting
mention
belief.
that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that, all that stuff
The
that
big
these
one.
beautiful business relationships sort of hold up. If there's something going on for you, like, I keep mentioning the goal setting because it's in my mind, but like if you're saying to me, I want to make 10K a month, but it's not feeling good, then there's going to be a limiting decision you've made or a limiting belief in there. So we can clear that, like we can work on that. But if you set that as your goal and you haven't cleared it, we won't reach it. So, like it's really fun. And then like if we couple that with the tarot, sometimes the tarot will bring a message through, and then that message will make you feel uncomfortable. You'll be like, oh, I think that's this. And finally, the unconscious mind working with that is part of your intuition. Intuition is literally about receiving information, being able to join the dots on that information and create meaning. And our unconscious mind is a big part of that. I genuinely believe that, when we're in alignment and we're channeling, like that's not my prefrontal cortex. That's not my academic brain. And I have one of those. That is my subconscious mind. That is the energy running through me. So I love using NLP because that loosens the grip of that big brain that we love to use to make all the decisions, and allows that subconscious mind, which is always here to serve us, always here for our highest and best. I kind of see it like our higher self almost. I allow that wisdom, all that stuff that is inherent in my DNA, everything that's been hidden by all the big thoughts of, oh my goodness, have I made lunch today? And when am I going to do the bookkeeping? And like that's not the stuff. No, we want to get into the juicy unconscious mind. So I kind of see them really working. They work really beautifully together. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love NLP and timeline therapy and all that stuff. Um, but you're not like hypnotizing anyone or anything like that, but you kind of get into because I know you can do hypnotherapy as well, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want to ask about that. But for the timeline therapy, I've done it, and
Oh, great.
I was surprised that it's a visualization, but you
Yeah.
kind of get into a space. I don't know how that quite works, but it's some sort of, I don't know whether it's a type of brainwave or something like that, but you kind of get into a space and stuff starts popping into your mind and that sort of thing. So I was very surprised about it. So I'm not surprised that you're doing it to help people kind of figure out what their purpose is and what how to go forward with your business.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that things pop into your mind. That's what happens for me. I've been a client of an NLP practitioner since I was in my 20s. I first did NLP with a coach in my 20s, and then I started again about 6 years ago with Suji Akobi, who's awesome here in Adelaide. And I have that same thing whenever I go in my timeline, and bearing in mind that your timeline might be past life, it might be in the womb,
Yeah.
in the past. It doesn't have to be in this lifetime. However, your unconscious mind has made sense of it, whatever it is. And I love that you said you see it, because I see it too, but not everybody does see it, because everybody's mind is wired with its own preference for either visual, auditory, kinesthetic. We have all these different ways. So some people, when they're in that timeline therapy, won't visually see it. They'll just have a sense of it, or they'll hear words. And one of the things I love about NLP is that we can really learn how we're wired. Like what is it that our brain is doing with the world? So we have all these lenses, and our brain is a magnificent thing. I love it. So like it's spent our lifetime experiencing things and then putting in, I like to think of it like coding. So like I see NLP as like a little software upgrade. You
There
go
you
in and you
go.
go, I've got this bug. I don't seem to be able to like put my prices up because something's happening and I know that it's worth more, but I don't believe it. See, limiting belief. Okay, all right. Let's unpack that. So you've got a glitch in your software somewhere. You might have learned something, like maybe you sold lemonade when you were 6 and someone went, that's not worth that. And that's it. Your brain went, oh, that felt really uncomfortable. I don't ever want to experience that again. So even though you're 6, at the age of 45, I'm not going to let you put up your prices. Like, honestly, it can be as ridiculous as that.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it? And I've had so many sessions where I'm like, are you serious? I made that decision when I was 4. I'm 45. I'm not going to let a 4-year-old make my decision. It's so fun, but our brain is so powerful, and so it has this amazing place in business coaching. I love it.
Yeah, you're not that
Yeah.
4-year-old anymore. So enough of
No, and
that.
she was beautiful and wise, but honestly, I
Yeah,
think I've
but
learned
she
a
was
bit
4. I mean,
since
come on.
move. Yeah.
But you don't necessarily even have to see it or anything. I mean, it can be just a feeling or something like that, and the next thing you
Yeah.
know, it's gone. The triggering of that
Yeah.
imposter syndrome or whatever it is, it can be gone, actually.
Yeah,
right?
because what we do is we pop into that timeline, we visit that event, whatever that is, and we learn the lessons. Because often when we're in those moments, we don't actually sit and go, do you know what? This is really uncomfortable. Let me just work out why in this moment while this thing is happening. I deeply need to connect with why do I feel uncomfortable? Let me feel all my feelings, especially when you're 4. That's not going to happen. And as a society, I think it's not too far-fetched to say we're very used to just going, oh, just mask, just push that down, ignore that. And all of that gets stored in our unconscious mind. All of that gets stored in every cell, every muscle, every fiber of your body, right? And when we go to timeline therapy and we go visit that event in a very safe way, we go right above it, and we have that opportunity to go, oh, what am I actually seeing as an observer here? Little 4-year-old. Actually, I think that person buying the lemonade was quite rude and grumpy. And here's what we can learn about that. Like what can we learn from that moment?
Exactly.
That's actually not don't put your prices up, but probably something more about owning your worth and recognizing you can't control what other people see as valuable. Like the next person bought a lemonade for exactly the same price and was like, wow, this is delicious. But you didn't notice that, did you, at the time? Because you were still upset. Do you see? I'm making all this up, this lemonade
Oh,
analogy.
no, it's
But
a
you
good
get the
example.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like we walk away, we come out of that timeline with all these things that we've learned now. And so our mind doesn't need to keep that uncomfortable moment anymore because it's resolved it. And so it's gone. It does. It's beautiful. It's really powerful stuff.
And you don't even have to relive it. It's not like, I mean, maybe it's not
No.
just lemonade. It could be something much more serious too. You don't want to
Yeah.
relive that. But
No.
with this thing, because you're high above it, you don't have to relive it.
Yeah,
You're
you don't have
actually
to.
observing, right?
No, and look, like when you get to the more NLP you do, the deeper you get. It's really interesting. Like I say, I've done it for many years now, and so not long ago I did a session, and I have always had 427,000 tabs open in my brain at all times, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And at the end of this session, all the tabs had closed, and my mind was quiet for the first time, and my whole body didn't know what to do with that because it had been a very long time.
Take a
And
nap?
I was like, I said, I'm really gonna have to go for a walk now. And Sue, my NLP therapist, said, what's going on for you? And I'm like, it's quiet and I don't like it. Like I was freaking out because I'd got the thing I wanted, but my body wasn't used to it, right? So when we're doing this really important deep work, and when we get to like the layers and layers and layers and layers in, like there's this beautiful thing where our nervous system then goes, oh, what, and then we have to catch up, like that's when you do feel this transformation of every muscle, every fiber, every cell has to catch up with what just happened. Like it's amazing, like it's incredibly powerful. So I'm not, I would never ever say that in timeline therapy we're going to go to a horrible moment in your life and make you sit in there and talk about it. You don't have to talk about it. It's not talk therapy. It's very different. And we will always be up. We'll take you out of the emotion, but sometimes your body will respond, and it's my job to go, all right, come up out of that, up, away, come like, and I have to watch your nervous system and help you be in a really safe place where you can observe and learn, and then come back to now and see what happens in the future. See if that thing would ever come up again. Like, yeah, it's really fun, but you
Nice.
do feel it. It is something you feel, that transformation,
Yeah.
definitely.
So most of your clients come to you because they're looking for more purpose in what they're doing, or and do you find that that's what's needed, that they need to be kind of completely realigned to something else?
It's not that they're realigned to something else. Often my clients come to me and they've had a business for a while and they've got like loads, they've got a fair enough amount of clients, it's ticking over. They're at that stage in their business where they're getting this sense that there's more usually, or they've got this really big business that's, or I mean, whatever business size they want, and they thought that's what they wanted, but they're not really feeling the joy that's coming out of that. So they might be making the money and they've got like this is their face. Like if you're watching this on YouTube, they're like, meh. If you're not watching this on YouTube, imagine kind of looking a bit meh, meh. All right,
Yeah.
they're not really feeling it. It's not lighting them up. So they're coming to me with a gap. There's a gap. Either they've got this business, but it's not quite aligned to who they are, or they've got this thing that's really aligned to who they are, and they're loving it. But the other problem is the business side. Like they're doing like one or two amazing workshops, making a bit of money, but they're not getting where they want to go. So it goes one way or the other. But my job is not to say to them, you're off purpose. My job is to hold space to find out what's going on. So, like we've said, it could be there's a limiting belief holding them back that we need to clear so that they can move forward and get to the next phase. It could be that they've been in this business for a little while now and they've done a Selena. And so they followed all the rules and they've got all this revenue, and that's great, but they've forgotten why they started it in the first place. It's become about cash flow and revenue and hiring, and not about the passion that they had. And so we need to find a way to change the way they're working a little bit, to make space in their working week to reconnect with what it is they came here to do in the first place. And that's really beautiful, because sometimes those business owners, I'm like, right, you just maybe in the wrong job in your business.
Hmm.
Have you thought of that? Like, maybe you need a bit more time here and a little less time here. So it's all I'm doing this because it's like feeling. You got to feel your way through it to work out what's going on. The word misalignment is key. It is always about misalignment, and
Somewhere.
that will either be, because they've gone hard on the masculine energy that we often associate with business, and they've kind of lost themselves, and they know they should feel successful, but they don't really. That happens a lot. Or they've gone really hard on the feminine energy and they're just all in flow, but there's no structure, and so they need that bit installing. Like, it's a balance, it's a game, it's a dance. So it goes either way.
So that's where your two types of skills really mesh so
Yeah.
ideally,
Yeah,
is it
exactly.
so often you see people, well, say, well, I went to somebody that's going to help me work out my limiting beliefs, etc. Okay, so I've done that. Now I got to go find someone to work out marketing plans and strategy and
There you go.
offerings
Hello.
and stuff.
Yeah,
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 I mean, this isn't all in
exactly.
one thing.
It is. I'm like your one-stop shop. Hey, but like
Exactly.
it's just because of my experiences, like I was an English teacher to start with, and then I built this piece of software for educators and turned that into a national six-figure business, and then went, whoa, like, so I've been blessed with all these beautiful moments in my life where I've had to learn these things. I have a brain that loves to learn, so I'm really good at lots of things in business. Love it. Love every bit of it. It's gorgeous. But what fascinates me most is that interplay that we're talking about. So yeah, and if I can't help you build a website, then I will know someone who's really good, and I'll help you with the copy, and because that's really important, like the messaging side of things, how you speak your truth is really, really, really important. And so many people come to me having spent like 20 grand on a website without first working out whether what they're doing is in alignment, how they're going to talk about what they do. And so they have this really beautiful, completely useless website that cost them 20K. Like, I'm like, no, wait.
Yeah.
Like it's like being in a relationship and deciding to have a baby to hold it together. Really, don't do that. Like, if there's a problem, like, let's deal with what's going on first before we try and add something shiny in the hope that that will make it all be okay again. Like, sometimes we have to stop pushing and just go within and just take a breath
Yeah.
and just work it out before we throw another 20K on a course or a website or whatever it is that we feel we must have to solve this problem. Yeah, it's
Back
always
to
inside,
basics.
not outside. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you and I think, both work with what I would call spiritual entrepreneurs, the folks that ha use the tools that you are using in your business, but as their business more so, the astrologers and the Akashic records readers and that kind of thing. Uh, and I guess what I'm asking is, do you find that those kinds of business owners experience particular types of roadblocks getting to the next level, as opposed to maybe some other kind of a service provider or people who sell products? I'm just wondering if, I'm thinking we talked about messaging, and I know sometimes it's difficult to nail down
Yeah.
messaging. So I'm just wondering if you experience something like that with that type of business owner more so than others,
I think the people who are in those heart-led businesses, that's how I would describe those.
right?
And that doesn't necessarily have to be, you could be a heart-led business owner who is providing disability services or is a wellness coach or is a doctor, like those people who are in that heart space service, they want to serve others. They tend to feel very deeply. And so those emotional talents can sometimes create blocks more often. However, if you are somebody who is heart led and has learned to play the game, so you internally you beautiful human, you really everybody wants to serve and help, but you've decided the only way to do that is to hide that part of yourself and to be this like go-getter, this hustler, la, 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 then you're still going to have the same problems. They're just going to speak into the world in a different way. Does that make sense? So either you're going to be hustle, 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 and you're completely burnt out now because you're not authentically you. You're not honoring yourself and what you need. Or you're really authentically you, but you're really resisting the hustling. So although your energy is very open and flowing, you're still stuck. Both of those people are still stuck. They just have a different way of getting there. Does that make sense? Like I don't think, I see a lot of business owners who people will call it being in the feminine, too much in the feminine. And so there's no container. The masculine's job is to create the boundaries and hold the space so the feminine energy can do the work. If you have too much feminine and it's flowing all over the place, then your business doesn't know what direction it's going in. It doesn't know when it's hit a goal. If you've got all of the goals and all the boundaries, but none of the flow, then you're going to have all these goals and no energy to get there because no one's doing the inner work. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah,
still the same. You're going to be stuck. But it might just be through a slightly different lens. It's
right.
interesting, but it's all the same, really.
Yeah. I hear from those kinds of business owners quite often where they're saying, well, I'm doing what I love and everything. And of course, I want to get to the next level, etc. But they'll say, well, every time I go and ask someone, I'm being told to niche. I need to niche down, right? And that just does not land with s- some of those people. If you're a local business, okay, I could
Mm-hmm.
see, or if you're a retailer, that's a little different story. But asking somebody who is a healer or a Reiki practitioner to niche, they just they don't get it.
And I get that. Look, I've fallen into what I hear the American way of saying the riches are in the niches. Oh, look, maybe,
It's a
but
good one.
like if I niched, like I could niche down, 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 down to like I only do story brand messaging, or I only do tarot, or I only do timeline therapy, and I don't do any of the other things. But what I actually do is very niche, right? In some ways, like I am a coach who works with a particular kind of client, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes those clients come to me not really knowing that's what who they are yet. Like they're like, oh yeah, no, this is great. Tarot, woo, this is exciting. And they haven't quite discovered that about themselves yet, right? So it's really interesting because I think what niching means is just be really clear about who you want to help. And if you see it that way, that's great. Like if you try and niche by a modality or a tool, you're going to limit yourself and that's going to feel really restrictive. And of course, your whole energy and your nervous system is going to go because you feel like you've put yourself in a box. But I think if you do the other thing where you don't really know and you're just for everyone, you're also not going to be able to say the words that appeal to everyone because everyone walking this beautiful earth has their own lens on the world. They all have a different reason for what they need from you. So, really, when it comes to messaging, my number one advice about that would be see the word niche as ideal client. Like, who do you love working with and how do you communicate with them? So the work that I do with my clients in that space, I use StoryBrand, as I've mentioned. So Business Made Simple Practices and StoryBrand. And we'll really dive into who our customer is, what their problem is, more importantly, why they can't get through that problem, and how I can guide them. Because my customer is always the hero. I am the guide. If I'm the hero, then I'm flawed and I have a problem and I need Yoda to help me, right? No, you get to be Yoda. Get the ears out. All right. So you're the guide. So I need to know not what my niche is, but who my customer is. So if I'm a Reiki healer and I love working with, I don't know, women in their midlife period, and I want to help them release some of the things they've been carrying, or maybe I specialize in, that menopausal phase will often bring up all the stuff we've been storing. Maybe that's your thing that you love. Now, you could call that a niche, but if you have a conversation in your messaging around releasing things you've been storing, around dealing with menopausal symptoms, blah, 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 you won't just attract the women who are in menopause. You're going to also attract the people who resonate with, yeah, I have this energy trap within me, or I have these aches and pains, like, because you don't actually get to choose how your message is received. That belongs to the person receiving it. You just have no control over that. All you have control over is clarity. Like, you can try and be as clear as you can about who you want to call in, who you love working with. And that takes work. Like, it's not just crap, I got to make 20 Instagram posts for this month. What can I pick out the air? Like, no, no, no. That's throwing stuff and hoping something will stick. Spend a couple of hours deep diving on who you love working with, who you're feeling called to work with, and map out who they are, what their problem is. I do that on 3 different levels. So I do it, how does that make them feel? Their internal, like, and their internal problem. What's the problem externally? Like, what's the block that's stopping them getting there? And why is that just plain wrong? Like, if you were going to stand on your soapbox and say, this is wrong because you deserve blah, 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 what would that be? Because one of those 3 will resonate with that person, because they'll either be like, stuff this, I'm over it, or they'll be like, oh, she sees me, she understands how I feel. That appeals to, and I don't mean that in a, like, I mean that genuinely. Like, it's important to me that empathy in your messaging. I see you, I get it, I've been there, I've helped hundreds of people get through this, and you're like, oh, she does, she understands me. It's connection. It's about connection energetically. And so if you're going out there selling, I am this particular Reiki healer with this particular modality, that means absolutely nothing to anyone other than another Reiki practitioner who
Exactly.
isn't going to buy your service because they're a Reiki practitioner. So you need to be talking to the client, the customer, about what they need from you and how you can help them. And then when I work with my clients on that, one of 2 things happens. Either they're crying during the guide section, where we have to really write down, how do you help people? What do you do to help transform their lives? Or they're crying when they work out who their client is. And I mean that genuinely. There are lots of tears in my office, because either they're seeing themselves and their power for the first time, like, wow, I do that. Wow, I do have these skills. Oh my goodness, I had a belief there. Let's clear that. I'm stepping into that now. Yes, I am the right person to guide you through this, and I'm going to step into that. Or they're looking at their customer and they're deeply connecting with them and really understanding them. So an example I can give is I worked here in Adelaide with Adelaide Colonics, and their messaging was all about the colonics machines and how it was safe and what the therapy was. And we completely changed that to, hey, I get it. When you go out for dinner, you want to be able to eat stuff off the menu and relax. You don't want to have the first thing you do when you walk into the restaurant is, where is the bathroom? Because I might need to run there because you've got gut issues, right? We came up with this whole like story. And so the story on the Adelaide Colonics website is about discomfort, embarrassment, how we can help take that away from you. So you can go to your daughter's wedding and eat whatever you want and know that you'll be all right. And that resonated on a whole other planet, whole other universe. Then we use this machine and it's very, very safe. And here are the, can you see the
Sure.
difference? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Yeah, so that's what I do. And that comes through a whole heap of intuitive kind of pulling of symbols, a whole heap of listening to listening to my client's journey and what's really in their heart. And that's why I don't really see, I know you're saying, is there a particular thing that comes up with one kind of client or the other? It's always the same. It's just which mask are they wearing or what are they afraid of? Really is the other question.
I
Yeah. And how can I help them move forward? Yeah.
that's awesome. And I mean, I just from what you're saying, I think these people are niched. They do have a niche. They just don't
Yes.
know what it is. They
Yes,
just have
that's
to
right.
discover it.
Yeah, and I don't need to niche down any more than Reiki practitioner. Like that's fine. Like
No,
okay, so
yeah,
like great, you're a Reiki practitioner. So now let's just focus on who do you want to help? What is the difference that you make? And how do you attract that person in by inviting them into a story in which they're the hero and you're the guide. It's as
exactly.
simple as that.
It's
Just
beautiful.
takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you, I know do you do social media work with people or do it like a strategy and get somebody to kind of help them out with the postings or SEO and things like that? I'm going to ask you a question that's for me in a minute, but do
Great. No, good. Look, I don't create assets for anyone. I will help them work out what the story is. So once they've got their story brand, they will have so much content to share. So one of my other clients is a womb healer, Kirsty Maddox here in Adelaide. She started a podcast because once her story brand was done, she had so many things she needed to share that she started a podcast, like awesome. Like you won't be stuck with things to say because you have clarity around what your client needs to hear, right? So then I would say to you, okay, let's look at this from a marketing perspective. Let's divide the year into seasons. I mean, we have business quarters, but I like to call them seasons. Okay, so we have different quarters here in Australia too, just to confuse things. So we're in Q1 right now, and it's winter in July. So bear with me, those of you on the other side of the world. But like right now here in Australia, if I was a Reiki healer, I would be using languaging around winter and going within and warmth and hibernation and planting the seeds for spring. Like I would be using that language because I'm a Reiki healer, right? And I'm going to be connected to that. And I've done my work. I know my client. I know what they're looking for. And so I would look at it with them in terms of like, what's the marketing plan? What services and products do you particularly want or need to focus on? And then I would help them map that out. And then I would use my network to find them someone who could help them put that together. But I'm not going to sit here and show them how to use Canva or make them do all of that. Some of them will love that. Some of them, that is not their zone of genius. So they need to hire someone else. Or, and there's lots of different people with lots of different budgets. So there's lots of different phases. SEO is a really interesting one because when we do story brand, we want to use the language our customers use, but the SEO wants us to use local words like where we are, like, is this local SEO?
yeah.
And there's this little dance that has to go on there too, okay, so I would always say, and you might differ, but this is because it's my preference, right? Let's be honest here. This is my bias coming up. So I'd be interested.
You're
I would
allowed.
always say start. Oh, good. Well, you can argue with me. It'll be fun. I would always say start with that customer conversation. Start with that story. Invite the client into the story so that they are into the story with you. You're journeying in this narrative together. And then bring the SEO in and do it that way around. Because if you start with like Adelaide business coach, which would be a really stupid keyword for me to go after. I tried, it's hard. Adelaide
Yeah.
business coach, and I just go Adelaide business coach all over my website. I'm probably going to get very bored very quickly.
So is the
It's
person
just not
reading
going
your
to work.
website?
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, so it's a dance as well. Like, so if you start with the heart message, if you start with the narrative, then work with someone like yourself with the SEO, with the story brand. And, like I would be using schemas probably. I'd be doing it a little bit more in the back end. I don't know, am I getting too technical? You tell me.
No, no,
I
go
would
ahead.
use some schemas and things like that so that I don't have to totally rely on the languaging on the front. But there's also needs to be keywords, and there needs to be local SEO words sort of sprinkled in there. And then the thing that's really fascinating me, which I'm learning about still is how we then get the AI to recommend us. I find that really interesting
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's next
That's the
step.
next thing.
That is absolutely
Yeah.
the next step. Well, you answered my question. It was going to be, what's your
Oh,
best SEO secret? And it's, it's you
oh,
just said
oh, there
it.
we go.
It's the language, and it's basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, answering the question. You're answering the questions that the your potential audience is asking.
Yes,
Number one.
especially if you've got that narrative right. You're not even answering questions. You're just going, they're going, oh my gosh, this person sees me. Like they're, and then the game becomes what word would they type into Google so the story appears for them so that they are invited into that narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the tip.
You're welcome. Let me know how it goes.
I
Everyone,
will.
let me know how it
I will.
goes. And if anybody wants to get some little secrets or formulas, I've got a freebie on my website at selenawoodward.com, which is 3 formulas that just get you to think about it a little bit like that, little phrasings that you can, fill in the blanks and start getting your mind around like, who is it that I'm serving? How would I explain what I do? If you head to selenawoodward.com, you'll pop up as a little freebie there. Check that out because it's quite fun actually. It's quite a fun little
Beautiful.
exercise to do. Yeah.
Definitely we'll do that. I'll get that in the description box, as they say.
Cool. Yeah. There's lots of
Awesome.
free stuff on my website. Go dig
Yeah.
around, everyone. Take
Yeah.
what you need. Yeah.
Feel free. Awesome. So let's pull a card or two for the collective
Yes. There we
and
go.
see
So
what the
I got
universe
my
thinks
deck here.
about, you know, SEO and no, niching down, no. Uh, about the
Whatever. Let's
conversation,
just see,
whatever.
like, yeah, let's just ask for an interesting card to sort of give us our final thoughts. I think that could be fun.
Excellent
What do you
idea.
reckon? We'll do a bit of a
Excellent
Jerry
notion.
Springer, but with the tarot. Let's see what we get. Oh, something jumped out at me.
Oh,
Oh,
there you
that's
go.
interesting.
That's a hint.
It is a hint. This is interesting that this one's jumped out. This one's come out before recently. So, the five of, come on, focus camera. It's focusing on bits of it. That's annoying. The 5 of shields. So you got these 3 guys here. In fact, can you see the girls at the back there?
Yeah,
It's a bit hard to get it
yeah.
to focus.
Is that
So this is
pentacles?
my Celtic. Yes, shields. Yeah, pentacles. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
I use a
gotcha.
Celtic tarot. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So this card is really interesting in relation to our conversation. But I'm going to ask you, what do you see when you look at this? Just out of curiosity, what stands out for you? It's hard, isn't it,
I
this one?
see, well, you know, my mind goes to likening it to a regular Five of Pentacles, but um, I'm seeing that there is warmth. There's warmth
Yeah.
in the snow there, and the other two people they're just far enough away and just absorbed enough in what's in their little world that they're not quite seeing it. That's what I see.
Oh, that's really interesting. See, this is the fun part about tarot, right? I could tell you what I see, but this card, when it pops up in my deck, my job as the tarot reader is to have the right deck that will have the right
Yeah,
symbols to help you see, right? So
yeah.
I don't use the Rider Waite deck. I have my own funky one.
Hmm.
So the 5 of shields, obviously shields is all about pentacles, which is all about, I like to go the stuff, like the manifesting things, the resources that you need. And this card is a 5, which is never easy. But yeah. So the 5s are usually like right in the middle of that struggle journey. And this, it's really interesting that you say the people at the back there, I kind of heard you say they're kind of hyper focusing on their own thing, they're doing their thing, and the other guys have got the warmth, right? So if I think about that in relation to our conversation, I think that might be a bit of an invitation to look up. If you're feeling like the ones on the outside as you're listening to this thinking, yeah, I not quite got the warmth of the fire yet, haven't quite got all the abundance in my business that I want, maybe you need to look up and maybe you need to notice where that flame is, where that passion is, where that fire is. That's what's coming through for me based on what you said as well. I think that's really cool. So maybe someone here listening today needs to hear that. Maybe the
Yeah.
fire that you seek, the heat, the manifestation, the embodiment of what you're trying to achieve is really not far away. You just need to look up and look around and be open to receiving that. Perhaps that's the
Exactly.
message from this card today. How does that
Literally the
land with you?
spark is it's
Yes, the
there.
spark.
Yeah.
It is there. You see,
Yeah.
this is why I love using tarot. The spark is there. Maybe you need to tend to your own fire a little bit. Maybe you've walked away and you need to tend to that fire. And that happens a lot in business. We get so wrapped up in the business, making sure that the cash flow is there and planning the next thing, that we often forget to tend to our own fire and to look up and take pause. And as I say, here it's winter. So fires are great.
Perfect.
Like here in Adelaide right now, I'm going away with my girlfriends this weekend to do just that. We've got a fire pit. We're going to have some fun. So I encourage
Beautiful.
you all to do that. There you go. Permission
There you
from
go.
me.
There's Selena's advice.
Take it or leave it.
Start a fire. No, it's
No, no, that's
fire
not what
pit.
I said. Especially if it's summer and it's fire season. Don't
Yeah,
do
no, no, please.
it.
Well, Selena, thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome conversation. I really enjoyed it and had a
Welcome. It's been
blast
fun. Yeah,
and
me
and
too. It was
learned
really
a
good.
ton as well. So thank you.
Great. Great. Well, look, at wherever you're posting this, I would encourage people to comment. I'm always really nosy. I'm always happy to answer any questions. And just head over to my website and have a dig around. I got so much stuff over there at selenawoodward.com. Yeah, I'd love to connect and happy to answer any questions or pull cards for people or dive in and have a good look at what's going on under the hood, so to speak,
Under the hood,
if I can help.
exactly. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. And we'll talk to you again soon, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye for now.